VFX Bro here, and welcome to the Talking Animal tutorial. Really excited, we just got to release the Hunt for Pikachu video on Final Cut King's channel, and it's been getting a lot of great responses, so super excited about that. And I'm also super excited to show you guys how we did it. Now, I've been doing visual effects for about 7 years, and in the last 2 years I've come across two different things that have really changed the way I do VFX, and I use them on almost every project. One being expressions, and the other being this program called Mocha that I've just found within the last several months, and I use it on almost every project now. And Mocha is great. If you don't know what it is, you can check out their website and see more about it, but it's a planar tracker, and there's several different versions of Mocha. We've got Mocha for AE, which comes actually free with After Effects CS4 and above, so all of you that have After Effects actually have Mocha for After Effects free on your computer already and probably just don't know it. I'm going to be running through some of the features in Mocha Pro, which are not available in Mocha for After Effects, but you can upgrade to Mocha Pro for $200 if you're a student. So you can get a student discount, really awesome, brings it down from over $1,000 just to $200. It's got some really useful tools in that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So I'm here in After Effects CS6. I'm just going to grab this clip and drag it into our composition, and we've got this clip of Pikachu. Give it a nice little meow. You want to make sure that the shot's kind of steady, not a whole lot of motion blur, and that the cat meows looking straight towards the camera. And we can actually, in After Effects CS6, open up Mocha within After Effects, but we're going to go here into Mocha Pro because I'm going to be using Mocha Pro. A lot of this you can do in Mocha for After Effects, but some stuff you can't. So here we're going to open up in Mocha Pro, and I'm going to drag in my clip here. Hit OK, and we've got this cute little clip of Pikachu. And we're going to zoom in here, and we're going to create a nice spline right around the eyeball. So we're going to track the eyeball here because the Pikachu has fully black eyes. So we need to change his eyes to make them completely black. So we've got these splines drawn around the eyes, and if we just scrub through here without tracking, I'm just going to scrub through so I can see what's happening. Right here, the cat starts to blink. So I want to stop this track right before he blinks because we know that our track's going to be messed up at that point. So I'm actually just going to work on the left layer at the time, and the cool thing is that I can just hit enter and rename it. I'm going to call this right eye. And of course, one of the awesome features with Mocha Pro is that I can also change the color. It just helps with my organization. Left eye, and I want to make it blue. So for my right eye and my left eye, and I'm just going to focus on my right eye for now, but we will be using the same exact technique on the other eye. But we know right here, at this point, he starts to blink, and our track is going to get messed up a little bit. So I'm only going to track until this point for now. So I'm just going to go through this frame by frame, and because it's so soon, and we can see it starts to blink right there, our track's going to get messed up. It's been tracked up until that point. And now what I want to do is actually, because I don't even necessarily need the most accurate tracking data during the time that he blinks because his eyes are closed and it's covered, I'm actually going to track the middle of its forehead. And the great thing about Mocha here is that, with this guy selected, I can see where I've tracked, is that in Mocha Pro, I can just nudge the whole thing over. I don't have to worry about going spline by spline as you did in previous versions. And I can actually track this part right here, and it's not going to affect my transform data in a way that, let's say, After Effects would. By moving all of my tracking data to this point, it's going to continue to track this as if it was over there, if that makes sense. So I can just actually use this awesome tool here, only available in Mocha Pro, to resize this as a whole. And now if I were to track forward, it's going to continue to track on there. And once his eye opens, bam, right there, I can now move this guy all the way back. I can just hold down my shift, move it all the way back here, resize it a bit. And voila, now I can continue to track forward And right here, look, we can see as I tracked forward that because of the blink, it got a little bit messed up. And I can actually just move back forwards here and start. I know at this point he starts to blink, so I can just move backwards here. And again, I can just move the entire spline all the way over. And it's going to override the previous tracking data. And then right here I can see the eye starts to open again, so I'm going to move it all the way back. A little bit of fine tuning here. And now I can continue the track. And now, just to make sure that the track has been appropriately applied to the shot, I can click on this button right here. It's going to show. So this part right here is going to represent my actual tracking data. And now, if I were to play through this, I can see whether or not it's holding. And we can see here as my tracker moves to the center as he blinks that my tracking data is continuing to hold to the eyeball. And it's holding on there. We can look through this and see that that tracking data is sticking where we need it to be, and this shot has been done in a matter of minutes. So now with that tracking data done, we can actually move back into After Effects. So I'm going to click here, Export Tracking Data, make sure that we have the After Effects corner pin, which supports the motion blur, selected, and hit Copy to Clipboard. And now we can move back into After Effects and finish our shot. Now, really quick, I just wanted to point out that the first time I tracked this shot, I did not offset the tracking spline during the blink. And so what I actually had to do was go in and remove those keyframes. Obviously, this is the better way to do it. But if you come across a shot where you don't have any reference that you can use to offset the tracking data, like the nose of the kitten, then what you can do is actually go here into Mocha Pro and adjust the keyframes in Mocha Pro's dope sheet. Now, the dope sheet is only available in Mocha Pro, so you'll have to have Mocha Pro in order to use that. But it is a handy tool that you can use to move keyframes around, look at them if you desire to. And yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to the After Effects part of this tutorial. So we've copied it to our clipboard, and now we're going to hit Command-Alt-Shift Y, and that's going to create a new null object, or we can go layer new null object, and we've pasted our data in there hitting Command V. Of course, if you're a Windows user, you can use Control rather than Command. And now let's take a look here. We've got our eye, we've pasted our null object to that eye, and now what we can do is paint out our larger eye. So we're going to select our bottom layer, hit Command D to duplicate it, and let's double click on it, where it's going to bring up our layer tab, and we're moving around with the H command, and we're going to double click and hit, we're going to close this out here, drag that over, and now what we can do is hit Command B, and we bring up our paint tool, and we're going to select our color, and we're going to bring down the opacity here. And we're just going to nicely draw over this eyeball. And now we're going to bring up our opacity, make it a little bit smaller, and continue to draw over our eyeball. We want to make this look real natural, so that's why we're not using a full opacity, so we can retain some of the original data in there. Bring up our opacity even more, and we can see this eyeball is starting to look a little bit more realistic. And finally add some final touches, and that looks pretty good. Of course, it looks really fake because we don't have our reflection. So we're going to go back here. We're going to freeze frame this, and then we're going to select this layer, hit Command-Shift-C to pre-compose it, move our attributes into the new composition, and we're going to rename this so that it's easy for us to organize. So we have that there, and we're going to rename this track data as well. We have our right eye tracking data, and now we can parent this up to our tracking data. So now this new eyeball that we've just painted is now being tracked onto our tracking data. And now what we can do is work on adding our reflection. So we're going to duplicate our bottom layer, bring it on top, and now we can hit Command Y to create a new solid, and we're going to just make it red, and we're going to change our blend mode. And then we can now, we're going to hit G, and we're going to add a mask around this reflection here. Now I'm using After Effects CS6, so you can see it's a little bit different than any of the versions beforehand, but we can add this smooth mask onto our reflection here. And now that we've done that, we're going to select our layer and hit M, and then hit M again, and we're going to bring up the feather a little bit so it blends in nicely. Okay, now what we're going to rename this as the matte for our reflection. We're also going to parent this, and the reason we're doing this way is because the reflection is constantly changing, and so we want the constant change of our original shot to also be in the shot after the eyeball is changed. And now we can see that that eyeball is really starting to come to life. Looks like a legitimate giant eyeball, and that's great. We can add in a feather here after we draw in the mask right around the eyeball, and now it's blending in even better. And we can see that it's a little jacked up because we have some erroneous tracking data when the eye blinks, but we can actually delete those keyframes here in After Effects by selecting our tracking data. And we actually know that the eyeball size isn't changed, so we're going to hit S for scale and delete all of our size tracking data, because we know just by looking at the shot that the distance that the cat is from us never changes, so therefore his eyeball size should never change. Although we will see less of the eyeball by adding a mask later on. But we can see we got some weird rotation stuff going on, so we can go in and actually delete some of those keyframes manually. It's going to interpolate the rotation and position data from the areas that we've deleted and just average those out, which will be totally fine because, like I said before, we're going to be covering the eyeball anyways, so it's not crazy important that we have accurate tracking data during that part. All right, now we can go back into Mocha here, and we need to add a matte for the top eyelid in order to have that cover up the eye. So we're going to come here and create a spline and just draw a nice little spline here right over the eyelid. Okay, so now we have this eyelid all tracked out. We can actually go here and hit enter. We're going to call it right eyelid. And you're going to want to repeat this process for the other eye as well. But what we're going to do is take it here. We can change the color as well. I like to change it to red so that it matches with the other right eye. And now what we can do, we have that tracking data, and it's not perfect because we see some meshing around, but we can actually just fix that by making a new spline. And this one we're going to want to be a lot more accurate because we're going to use this for our actual roto mask. So we're going to create this spline here, and it's going to go all the way along this eyelid, and that's good right there. And then it's going to go all the way on the top. We don't really care how high it goes because as long as it covers the top portion of the eye, we are all set. And we've got there, we can round this out a little bit, round this out, bring it up, and that's good enough. So now what we do, we've got this layer selected here, and you can see that we're missing a dock here, so we can go into our view layer properties. Yours might already be showing, but if it's not, that's how you get this selected. And we're going to link this track to the right eyelid, so you can see it's already set up for us there. And I'll just drag this off to the side. I can stick it in there if I want. And now, if we scroll through this, you can see that the matte is moving along and it's being tracked, and we've got some sort of mesh distortion here that's happening, So we've got our layer 4 here selected, and we're going to actually call this right eyelid matte. And again, I'm going to change this to red. And what we can do now is scroll through here, and you can see that as the eye starts to close, it gets larger, squishes, and then it starts to get a little bit messed up. And now all we care about here is whether or not the matte is covering the top eyelid. So even though this changed quite a bit, it's not a huge deal. All we need to do is really move the position. So we're going to set a keyframe right here by hitting the add keyframe. So we've added a keyframe there on the position of this eyelid matte. And now we're going to scroll forward here, and right about there is where it stops moving, and we're going to just move it up here. And with the tools here in Mocha Pro, we can just drag this whole thing in and make it smaller. That's right about where we want it. I can drag this down manually. Now you can see that if we move back forward, it's animating from that position to this new one. And here it's a little bit off, so I'm just going to select the whole thing and move it around just a bit. That's awesome right there, and there it tracks on. Beautiful. So I'm going to continue to move through this. You can see that it gets a little bit bigger here. That's totally fine. That'll totally work. It's still where we need it to be. Let's see, we can go through this a little bit here. Adjust some of this positioning right there. And that'll do. So we can take a look here at the matte. Okay, now with that matte all set up, what I'm going to do here is go export shape data. And I'm going to click on Mocha Shape for After Effects. And I'm going to go ahead and copy that to the clipboard. And now I'm going to move back into After Effects and paste that matte back in. Back here in After Effects, I've hidden some of the layers just so that we can see more clearly what's going on here. We've got our right eye, and then it's tracked to this right eye tracking data. And we've got our base plate, the Pikachu. And what we're going to do now is go to the first frame. We're going to hit Command Y or Control Y. And we're going to call this right top eyelid matte, and then hit OK. It's the size of our comp. And now we can go here, edit, paste Mocha mask. If you don't have this option here, then you can get the plugin online on the Mocha website. But we're going to go ahead and hit the paste Mocha mask, and it's going to paste it right in. So we can go in here and see that this is fully compatible with After Effects. We've even got little spline tools that have been pasted in here. We can even manipulate those if need be, but we don't need to do that. Only thing we are going to do is add a mask. So we're going to hit MM twice, and we're going to bring up our mask. I'm going to mask it to probably somewhere around 5. I like the look of that right there. And now what we can do is duplicate our base layer Pikachu, and we're going to drag it right on top of here. We're going to bring this actually on top of that. And we're going to set the track matte to right top eyelid matte. And there we go. Now if we solo this layer out here, you can see that we've got the eyelid here. You can see the squishing going on with the mask, but it doesn't really matter. It's not actually squishing the image, it's only squishing the matte. And that's exactly what we want. So we can see that this is sticking wonderfully to that eyelid. And now we can unsolo it. And we've got this layer right here. We could actually even pre-compose this, and we're going to call this right top eyelid. Hit OK, and that's still going to maintain its tracking data because we're not parenting it to any null object. All of the information that we need is already in there, has been pasted out of Mocha. And now we can unlayer that, unsolo. Now we can unsolo that, and there we go. We can see that as Pikachu closes its eyes, the top eyelid closes over that. Now we still have this bottom layer because we haven't done the bottom eyelid yet. And then again, we're going to want to do that for both the right and left eye, but you get the idea. So we can go ahead and move on.